What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are returning, thank you guys so much. And for those of you who are new, my name is Rachel. I just finished my second year out in the field of being a school psychologist, which is so crazy to think about. So today was my last day. It was only half a day for us, and then I ended up going out to lunch with my coworkers. So yeah, I'm back home. And it's always like weird when you finish work for the year, because then it's like, okay, I'm done for like the next 2.5 months. So yeah, it's kind of surreal. And that's why I thought I would film today, just because today was my last day. Like, I officially have been a school psych for 2 years, and I'll be about to start my 3rd year in just a couple months. So it's just crazy. I feel like the time has flown by. But at the same time, this past year has felt super long. Like, just this year. I feel like my first year went by really fast because then COVID hit and shut everything down in March. So this past year has definitely felt longer. And there's been a lot learned this year. So yeah, I thought I would just like make this video and share with you guys 5 different lessons that I've learned, or just things that I found to be really helpful this past year. And it's been just such a crazy year for everybody. I feel like the past year, the past 12 months have been just so different because of the pandemic. So yeah, I thought I would share with you guys just like a few things that I'm taking away from this year. So the first thing that really this year like really made me focus in on is staying open-minded. This was huge, especially when we were doing assessments again. Like, we had stopped when the pandemic started. So from like March until June of last year, we weren't really doing our role necessarily. But once we came back in the fall of last year, so the fall of 2020, you know, we had a lot of changes that we had to go through, and we were doing assessments outdoors, you know, wearing PPE. And then eventually 3 months later, we started transitioning into virtual testing. So it was just like a lot of change, and I wasn't really flexible when it came to learning the virtual assessment, just because not a lot of districts were really doing it. So we didn't really have a model to go off of besides, you know, a few PDs that we had taken. So just being open-minded, because it's crazy to think now that I learned tele-assessment, I've done testing outdoors, I've done testing indoors. Like, we did all methods this past year. So it really just reminded me to like stay open-minded. It all works out. And tele-assessment did work for many students. For some, it wasn't the best option, but it's good that I have that under my belt now, and I can like, you know, add that to my resume for the future if I need to. Staying open-minded, definitely the first lesson that I really learned this year. And kind of going off with that too, with the second thing, is like, there's only so much that I can control. You know, like, there's some things that are within my control in a school system, like with my evaluations, and then there's other things that you just can't control for. With that especially was like tele-assessment, you know, like if I was testing a really young kid and you just can't really like work with them the same way that you can in person. For some kids, they did great on tele-assessment. Like, I had some 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds that were wonderful to work with, and it really worked well for them. But then others really need that in-person attention. So yeah, some things I just like could not control. And you know, if you have to caution your results because of the behaviors or because of like, you know, technology issues, that's what you have to do. But that was something that did stress me out when I was doing tele-assessment. And yeah, that's something I like wish I could just go back and tell myself, you know, you're doing the best you can, and that's all that matters. Okay, so this next lesson, this one was especially, again, came into view for me this past year, But I remember my supervisor from internship had actually told me this, and it's just like stuck with me ever since, is to find your person, okay? So find your person, whether you're school-based, like in that building. For me, again, I'm different. Like, I'm not in a school building. My office is in a special ed building with just like staff, no students. So me and all the school psychologists have an office right next to each other. I share my office with one of my coworkers, and finding your person in a school system or wherever you work is just so important, because you want to be able to like rely on somebody. You want to be able to like vent your frustrations or however you're feeling, or whether you need support or have questions. Like, it's always good to have somebody that you just feel a connection with, you feel close to. And with one of the school psychologists, me and her share an office, and like, she is my person. If I ever have questions, I'm not afraid to ask her. You know, we chat every single day, and that's the really nice thing too about like not being school-based, because we're all around each other and we can all get that support whenever we need. But finding your person is definitely huge, because I feel like it makes you more comfortable in the building. And, you know, when you need to approach somebody about something, or just like you feel lost and you're not sure what to do, it's always good to have somebody you rely on, who's nearby, just in case. Okay, another lesson that has definitely been helpful this past year is to keep up with professional developments, especially this year. Like, I had to take professional development around teleassessment because we had to learn that. You know, I did a couple PDs around learning more about academic assessments, because typically we didn't do the academic assessment until this year. We were doing them when we were not in person. So PDs are my best friend. Like, that's just the way that you're continuously learning. Like, now that I'm not in grad school anymore, it doesn't necessarily mean that I've just like stopped my education. Like, I still buy books to read. Like, I bought the Reading Problems book. I'll link it down below if I can find it. I think I mentioned it in one of my videos. And then I always take like free PD that's offered online. So in Massachusetts, I go on the Massachusetts Partnership for Youth website, and that counts toward your PD that you need every 5 years for licensure anyways. But I took so many PDs this year just because, you know, it was such a different time, and it's just helpful because during this time, especially when kids were home, that's like a whole nother factor to determine, you know, were they engaged in class? Because you have to rule out, you know, lack of instruction if you're questioning if they have like a learning disability. So like in the remote setting, it made it a little bit harder too to be able to try and get an accurate reflection of a student, especially if teachers couldn't even see them on camera. So I wanted like as much PD as possible as I could get around like eligibility and criteria around that and like remote learning. And the last thing that I really tried to like do this past year is just stay present and stay grateful, because I kept telling myself, like, even though there were some aspects when I was working fully remote that I didn't necessarily like, I knew that I was never gonna be able to have this chance again. Like, you know, if you work in a school system, you're going in person, except for when you're on summer vacation. So I had always wondered what it would be like to work from home, and obviously I wish the pandemic didn't happen, but it gave me the chance to actually experience that, like being able to just do work remotely. And I knew that I would never probably have this opportunity again. So I really tried to remember that on like the bad days and on the good days, and just stay in the present every single day. And that really helped because, you know, I've been in person again since the end of April, and I do enjoy going in person, but I'm glad that I was able to experience working remotely, because I knew, like, I know it's never gonna happen again probably. as long as I'm working in a school system at least. So that was something I really just tried to keep in mind this past year, since I was remote for most of the year. So yeah, those are the few things that I, am taking away from this year. And I just like can't believe that the year's already over. But I am so excited about this summer. I'm going to Hawaii this summer and I am so excited for that. We leave in like 2 or 3 weeks from now, so it's gonna be a good summer and we're gonna have lots to do. But I'm gonna keep making videos. They'll probably be more like sit down videos or just like vlogs of what I'm doing day to day, because now there's no more work in the life vlogs or day in the life of a school psych until the fall. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you all, by the way, for 1,000 subscribers. That means a lot to me. I started my YouTube channel about 1 year ago. I think it was May of 2020. And again, that's like another thing too. I'm so grateful that I was able to work remote, and I felt like I had slightly more time in order to start a YouTube channel. So I really, really appreciate all of you guys that follow me and subscribe to me. This is always like something that I have dreamed of doing, so I really appreciate you guys. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye.
And we just sing along, and I can't help but